Hey, everybody. Brian Stevens here with the Greater 901 Pack. And once again, we still don't have a great name for our podcast, but we have put out our scorecards. And I've got it right here. Here's a scorecard. It just got mailed to 70,000 voters, and it's starting to hit the mailboxes right now. And I am really pleased today to have as my guest the sheriff of our outstanding county, Floyd Bonner. How you doing, Sheriff?
I'm doing well, Brian. Thank you for having me. And your scorecard hit my mailbox yesterday.
Wow. So everyone that's been complaining about the mail not working for political things, it's dropping in a day. So the government's doing the right thing with the mail, I think.
Yeah, there you go.
And so, Sheriff, you of course, you're running for mayor of our city, and you got the highest score with an A minus. And I should say to everyone listening, A minus was the highest score anyone got. A few city council people got A minuses, and you're the only mayoral candidate to get an A minus. So,
yeah, well, I certainly appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, just to let you know, I didn't have anything to do with it. You can appreciate all you want, but we had a nonpartisan, non-political group of Memphians from the entire area score it, and we averaged their scores. And
sure.
and so it was a lot of people, Sheriff, that aren't involved in politics.
Wow.
It's kind of exciting, right?
It is. It's very exciting.
Yeah. So we're going to do kind of a quick interview right now because people want to hear this. And I'm going to ask you a few tough questions. But first off, why are you leaving the sheriff's office and running for mayor? Why are you doing this?
Well, Brian, people started talking to me about running for mayor right near right before the election of my second campaign. So I didn't really think a whole lot about it. But after the election was over with, I did start thinking about it. And crime being the number one issue in our community, I just the sheriff is different than the police chief. And we have 7 municipalities. We are charged with patrolling the unincorporated Shelby County. So to tackle the big issue of crime, I think from the mayor's seat, I have an opportunity there. I also have an opportunity to build that relationship between the Memphis Police Department and the sheriff's office more to make it better, Brian, because we're not getting all the information that we need a lot of times to help with crime in this.
Well, let me ask you this, Sheriff, because as you know, I've run hundreds of political campaigns. I'm not running any of the mayoral campaigns. We're just focusing on trying to get information out to the voters. But the one thing I'm going to ask you right now is, I understand, and I think all the people voting need to understand, the sheriff has no responsibility and cannot patrol the streets of Memphis, Tennessee without permission from the MPD. The Memphis Police Department patrols Memphis, and you control the areas outside of Memphis, basically, unless like Germantown has its own police force. You're in charge of the jails, the courts, and the rural areas, but they think you're responsible for everything. And right now, J.W. Gibson has started to attack you, and he started attacking Paul too, the top 2 people, saying that you're the top law enforcement officer. So why haven't you fixed crime in Memphis? And I want you to clarify what your actual responsibilities are as sheriff.
Well, that shows that Mr. Gibson knows nothing about law enforcement in the way that it works. As you said, Brian, our commission deputies they can enforce laws all throughout Shelby County. However, we only have 620 deputies. I'm mandated by the courts, by the Supreme Court or the Constitution, excuse me, to operate the courtrooms, the jail, the civil papers, and then patrol unincorporated Shelby County. Now, it's not that we don't work inside of Memphis, because my narcotics unit, my fugitive unit, a gang unit, we have all kinds of units that's working inside the city. You just don't hear about it as much as some of the other things. The calls for service, that if a person in the city limits of Memphis call 911, that call is going to go to the MPD's dispatcher. We're on 2 different radio systems, which is another problem.
Well, Sheriff, we could get into the 911 systems, and there was an old joke. This was years ago that 911 system has same day service. And it was a terrible thing to say, but some people died at Acton County because of ambulance service 911 system. But you're getting blamed or getting attacked at least. And I want to be really clear with everyone on why should we let you off the hook for the crime problem in the city of Memphis?
Well, I wish I had more deputies to assist with the crime problem in Memphis. With, like I said, only 620 deputies and the other responsibilities that we have. You know, Martavis Jones at the city council, I went over and spoke with city council, and he talked about city taxpayers' dollars. And but, you know, we all pay state taxes. My thing is that we need to collaborate. We need to use THP. We need to use the sheriff's office and any other law enforcement municipalities that can help with the crime in Memphis. So when the sheriff's office is asked, Brian, I have never said no to MPD.
Yeah, so
when we've been asked.
It's interesting, Sheriff, you brought this up because one of your scores, we have this category called local and state legislative support. And the basic gist is, how well are you going to work with state, the county, federal government to get additional resources down here? And the graders gave you an A in that category, I guess, based on kind of the stuff you're saying, which is we need to be cooperative. We need to be working together to fight this problem. So now I kind of see where they gave you an A there. So,
right.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool.
Well, Brian, you know, it's also about having relationships, and I have those relationships with the governor's office, with the General Assembly in Nashville. I just picked up the phone the other day because I thought our role in this Beale Street crime plan or traffic plan, basically, we only were assigned 2 intersections, and you know, and that's just diverting traffic. You know, I could have got school crossing guards to do that. Instead, I've had law enforcement officers down there directing traffic, if you will, pushing that traffic out downtown. But I took the initiative myself and contacted THP. And so now we're starting to do operations outside of Beale Street. And that's what I meant when I said earlier that we were only putting a Band-Aid on the problem, because it's going to require a visibility, it's going to require accountability and police officers on the ground.
Well, once again, I always like to get real. And Sheriff, you might not know this. Years ago, I had a radio program, and I got real with Roby Williams. Roby Williams and I, who was in charge of the Black Business Association for years. We did it as a team.
Right.
So much fun. So I like to not waste a lot of time with platitudes, and you've been great so far. But let me ask you a question. We're talking about downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the polls say it's you and Paul Young. Why are you a better choice than Paul Young?
Well, I think, Brian, that crime is our number one issue. I have 42 years experience in dealing with crime and crime issues. We have a plan to get more police officers out on the street, desk to duty. All recruiting, we have a plan even with recruiting, using data smart policing technology. Even artificial intelligence is becoming a thing now in law enforcement. And if you look at all the other candidates, when we're talking about tackling the number one issue in our city, absolutely no one has the experience. Then I run an organization with close to 2,000 employees. Look at the budget that I operate, close to $190 million. The other candidates can't even talk about that. The relationships that I've built that we're going to need to, if we're going to suppress crime throughout Memphis and all throughout the county. So when you look at the total package, and crime being our number one issue, that's what I will be focused on, working on reducing crime. And then there's intervention and prevention strategies. You know, I do intervention strategies with our juvenile court, with our jail in our juvenile facility. I do intervention even in our 201 Popper at our main jail.
Yeah, Sheriff. So I guess one of the things is, so many of our volunteers on the PAC, so many of the people out in the community that we talk to on a regular basis are debating between you and Paul Young. And
sure,
there's another concern that Willie Harrington, the former mayor with the most experience possible, he's right in there, and his base is, at least in my opinion, is rock solid. His 16 to 22,000 votes, they're not moving. So there's some concerns about you and Paul splitting the vote, and maybe JW or Harrington or Van Turner win. And so I'm going to kind of go back to the question again. Are you gonna go after Paul for anything? Are you going to attack him on his record. I mean, he works for and I should say this too. I've known Paul a lot of years. I'm friends with him just like you and Van and Doc Harrington. And I got a lot of friends in this race. Even Karen Camper. I love Karen Camper, man. She's my idol. I love me some Karen Camper. And so I really do. And she's been a longtime friend. So my question is right now, you know, people think that you or Paul can be very capable mayors, but you got to win a race first. Right?
Sure.
Win a dogfight. And so you guys are both being very nice and polite. Is that going to continue, or are we going to actually take the gloves off and expose what your opinion is of other people?
Well, we're starting to run some comparative ads now. And I think if you've been watching